The world was dark, no stars they shone, over all there hung a blessed gaze, yet thereupon she stood alone, in that place so harrowing. The feel of the carriage beneath you is comforting, the nostalgia of it, the rattling of its beams, the constant sound of its wheels turning across the old cobbled path. It all gives a sense of familiar likeness, accompanied then by the wind and the rain pattering against the old wooden frame. You're groggy, coming awake. Sleeping in a carriage is far more comfortable than a wagon. This is nothing compared to how it once was. This is simple. This is easy. Across from you, your mother stirs. Is she your mother? Your daughter? Your sister? Who can say? She blinks twice, yawning, and looks across the floor of the carriage at you, a smile breaking across her face.
I'll straighten my back out and cross one leg over the other, looking back at her with a faint smile on my lips.
How long has it been? We should be arriving soon, shouldn't we? The south approach.
That we should. It's been a matter of a few days. Shouldn't take that long. Hmm.
She looks around, notices Rena, still soundly asleep on the floor just beneath your feet, covered in a blanket, exhausted. Salon is nowhere to be seen. Where is your other servant? Salon?
Thoughtful look will come into my eyes for a moment. I'll turn, staring out of one of the windows of the carriage, but not sticking my head out or anything like that. Hmm. Well. Hmm.
A tap from up above, a few clicks on wood, and then Salon's head. She peers down into the wagon, almost hanging there.
Hmm.
She signs upside down. It's hard to read. Letting the cartman take a break.
Hmm. I'll turn back to my mother. Well, there's your answer. Aiding the cartman. Hmm.
Aelin wrinkles her nose, staring at Salon, and then, as Salon pulls her head back out of view, she turns to you. She's a strange one. Where did you pick her up?
Hmm. As I said, in Daskis.
Yes, but she doesn't. A woman like her in Daskis? Hmm, I guess you do find odd sorts there. Oh,
Hmm.
look! She points. You're coming around the bend, up a slight incline and over a hill. You can see the signpost there, wearily shifting under the gaze of the wind hung on a silver chain.
I'll turn and slowly look at it, a content look on my face as
The
I see
rain,
the sign.
the rain is beginning to peter out. The sign itself says, Il Lemian Galle, the Valley of Blood. And then, in a Larish script, Elavatti, beneath it. A welcoming post, a road marker, a display of time past.
Turn back to my mother then. Well, there's no denying it now. We are here,
Entering
one
at
and all.
last.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you come up and above the ridge, into the windy day, peering out the window. You see the first rolling hills of Elavatti. They are gently covered, long tresses of familiar wine vines. Or sorry, familiar vines set on long wooden spikes out in rows like little soldiers against the hill. There's heavy fencing around each of the great hills, and the colors, the shades of red and orange and green, vibrant even under the rain and the cloudiness of the day.
I'll
Ayla
stare out,
smiles. Go ahead.
something of a plain look on my face, a bit of satisfaction in my eyes at finally having gotten here.
At the base of one of the great hills, you see a sprawling expanse of a havare. Though not in similarity to Elavar, it is made of far different material. More wood, more clay, more burnished bricks, well burnt and well dyed in brilliant red and gray colors.
Stare out thoughtfully, just looking out the window at the hills, the houses.
If I remember correctly, you had already scheduled and purchased rooms at the Tembren house. Is that what you called it? Tembren?
I think that's what Salon said. I had her make those arrangements. I don't quite remember.
Salon looks down and through the window again and signs Tembren House. It should be on the south approach of the main road to Elavatti. More of a wayfarer's rest than any great tavern or inn.
It'll do for a time.
She nods. Bring her head back out, taking control of the reins of the two dun steeds leading the wagon down the hill now. Ayla looks down to Renna. She sleeps long, doesn't she?
Far longer than us, yes.
I guess she works harder, too. The two go hand in hand, I guess. Best not to wake her if we can, she says, talking a bit quieter.
I'm of a like mind. She's not accustomed to it.
That must be hard.
She had everything taken away from her with the Spiro Ellen.
Yes. That explains a lot. She looks back out the window. Oh, the trees are so pretty. They are. Their leaves burnished like flame, though much of it now fallen. Autumn lasts a bit longer in the valley, though only maybe a bit longer, and it is only the beginning of winter. But it's brilliant to behold, the landscape bathed in flame.
I don't know if we could have picked a better time of year to come.
I don't think
Like
we
how
could.
beautiful it is.
And the soil is so dark. Even the Appalachians of the Doskias did not seem quite as rich, she says, letting the word roll off her tongue.
I don't think it has a reputation as one of the finest wine valleys in the known world because of its ill soil.
No, that would be silly, of course. Oh, this Tembren house. There will be more than one room, won't there? Or at least multiple beds, I hope.
I don't quite know.
Salon steps down onto the footrest and opens the door, swinging herself inside as the carriage moves. She sits down next to you. Breathing a bit heavily from the exertion, she then sighs and begins to sign slowly to both of you. Shoulders a bit tense. I have made arrangements. There will be 3 rooms.
Good.
Alan nods. 3? Oh, that would make sense. But it still seems like something of a waste. 2 would have been fine. Who is the 3rd for? Ceylon points up above her. The carriage will not be leaving in the evening. I made sure to purchase a room for our cartman. Helen nods appreciatively. Good thinking, that. I can
I'm sure he
understand.
appreciates that. And you helping him along the way?
Of course, Ceylon says. I'm not as much of a bastard to make him go through the night alone. Aelin sort of scrunches up her nose at that, shaking her head. Oh, what are we to do? Have either of you seen this place before? You still won't tell me anything about it. I guess I did tell you not to tell me. But
I stick
still,
to my word.
we know the situation we're going into, don't we? At least
Yes.
you do. That's a bit more comforting.
There's a lot of mystery to it. It'll
Hopefully,
be amusing and or curious, but it shouldn't be a trouble.
hopefully you didn't spend too much coin on it. Please tell me you didn't.
Hmm.
You didn't have to take out loans for the purchase of a property.
No loans. I'd
Okay,
never loan.
good. I was
As I
worried.
said, I have too much money that I don't know what to do with it.
The gentle sounds of birds. The careful and quiet contemplations of nature as it rolls by. The blowing of leaves. All of it
Oh,
so fresh compared to Elavatti. So ripe.
how I miss this. How I miss this so much. I'll just shut my eyes and kind of I'll close my eyes and kind of put my head against the back of the carriage wall, just hearing the sounds and the.
You listen to the beautiful sounds. The noises of the valley. The sound of the wind through vines and through tree branches. The memory of arboreums about the road, lending it a brilliant color and spectacle. You hear the sound of the horses, the coughing on occasion of the cartman as he clears his throat. It's a windy day.
I remember Vene back in the country. This time of year, too. The autumn was pretty, but never this so.
No,
Mm.
no, it wasn't, says Helen slowly, quietly, looking down at her hands as she folds them in her lap. It was pretty on occasions, but this is something far more. A cultivated beauty. As though man saw what was here, and instead of wiping it away, building great cities or towers, they decided to set themselves to the tending of this place, the enrichment of that natural thing which we find so dear.
And what day in the future will that all be wiped away? Those ideas of enrichment fade, be entropied? I wonder, will it always stay this way?
I
I
would
hope
hope
so.
so. She laughs. Well, lack of mind, I see. Still, the Galdamenes bring in a prosperity rarely seen, and the society of their company is delightful, I've heard. Though I know Orlin scoffs at such things, I myself delight in the idea. You are becoming rather important, aren't you? I am sure you will be offered many an occasion to sup and dine with such folk. Do you
More
relish those
important than I
thoughts?
ever dreamed. I do. The opportunity to see what it's all like, truly. to just be welcome, to have all those doors open for me.
I am sure
It's nice.
you will be welcomed. But I have no doubt there will be some pompous wine lord seeing this as some sort of incursion on his territory, no doubt. We will
Oh, they
have to.
will.
Yes.
Hmm.
But I'm sure that we will make past all that with good company and with better
Yes.
manners.
I don't know much about manners.
Well, best it's time you learned some then, I think. I doubt this is a place where crudeness and rudeness goes unanswered. I would not have the local populace thinking little of us.
I can pretend well enough, even if it's not genuine.
Genuine, well, genuineness is cheap. Still, make the affectations and the noises you see fit. I will follow in suit.
I do worry, though, how many of those
Why?
kind invitations will come with ulterior motives and things that they desire from me.
No need to worry, she says, smiling warmly. You are not here for them. You are here for Van Ton Calor. I have heard a lot about him in the past few days from Orlin. The second he knew who would be your Pravir, he couldn't shut up about the man. He seems to think highly of the Vaun. Very
Mhm.
highly.
I trust Orlon's assessment. He seems rather level-headed.
I do, but he has a tendency to embellish. She gives you a sly smile. He can be charming, sometimes too much so.
I see how you two bicker back and forth.
Yes. Sillon signs then. Almost arrived. There is a schedule to adhere to. Would you like a refresher?
My mind has wandered these last few days. I don't quite remember it fully.
We will be having dinner at the Tembren House. I am sure the succor there will be fine, even though it is not the most prestigious of estates. It is still known and reputed for, well, its fine dishes and its finer company. In the morning, you have requirements to attend to. The Galaria Havare has called upon you to finalize those documents that I've brought with us.
Good.
No doubt, signatures will be required, and we will need to placate the Ayoro.
Hmm.
No doubt.
Make friendly.
Ah,
Yes.
no, please, she signs.
Oh? I'll raise an eyebrow.
You were saying something, she signs. Continue?
Make friendly.
She nods.
Hmm.
Yes, I have no doubt some of those placations will involve the imbibing of fine wine and the eating of hors d'oeuvres. An
When I was in the
inf-
Galeon, I tried some of the plum wine of the valley. It's not the worst.
I have heard the Galaria is in fair report in the production of such things. Perhaps we could find a bottle or two to bring back. I am sure the Galeon would appreciate the restocking of their larders and wine cellar.
That too. And you were there, remember, when Farouk made us a deal.
She
Give us a
nods.
merchant's markup on 2 bottles of
Ordon.
Ordon, yes.
Aelin nods, grinning. Oh, you have plans to see the Ordon Havare then?
Hmm.
I do hope you take me along. I have always enjoyed a glass of Ordon, though it's quite expensive.
I'll bring you along to whatever, as little or as much as you'd like.
Do you think my presence would be ill-suited for such occasions? Your
Hmm.
mother says a bit tentatively, slowing, sort of
Turn away
looking
such
around
thoughts.
uncomfortably. Yes, but you are an heiress, and I am, even though I am in the employ of the Arvalde Havari, still nothing more than, well, a lute maker.
Yes, but you're my mother. And if they have any ounce of respect for me, they'll respect you as well.
Well,
And if they don't, they can go be damned. One and all.
I doubt it will come to that, she says, biting her tongue. You make it sound so aggressive. I just, well, I don't know what I meant. She looks out the window, smiling at the gentle twisting and turnings of branches overhead. The trees which line the causeway form a canopy of twisted branches. A beautiful thing. Definitely not natural, you think to yourself. This is the construction of men, who see the world around them to be bent and to be turned to the devices of their own beauty. A thing to be cultivated, a thing to be owned.
What a place.
Indeed. Do you do you think, how far is this place from the town? If we have to restock or send Rena to pick up, well, from the grocer. If it's not too far, is it? She says, looking at you, then to Salon. Do we know?
I'll roll around the thoughts in my head for a moment and then turn to Salon.
The establishment in question is about an hour and a half's walk from the town to the manor itself.
Oh, that's not too bad.
3 hours, then, to come and to go. Not the worst. We will have privacy. That is your preference, isn't it? She
Hmm.
smiles.
Very much so. And I imagine the roads are, at least here in such a place, undeniably safe.
Yes, and well kept, says Salan. Elealavar and Eonalas both provide in that upkeep. Road crews are sent twice a year to make sure that everything is in order along the path. New stones furnished, new gravel laid if need be. A constant process, but one that is necessary for such a well-traveled road.
Hmm. And this town, how large is it?
Elavatti itself, she
Yes.
signs. I hear
What
that
all is there
Elavatti.
within?
Go ahead.
What all is there within? Tell me.
Everything you
You
would
know?
expect. Cobblers, cheesemakers of the finest report. I hear that here they grow the finest cobra. They feed them nuts and special leaves and branches
Hmm.
and other fine fare. They
I
say
see.
it is a town in communion with nature. There are gardens on every row, and trees blossom and branch about the old houses. They
Hmm.
say it is a place where nature is tended often and with great care.
That is good. Such things
Fire.
cannot just be expected, they must be upkept to prosperity.
I will mention, it is against the law of the town to carry open flame under penalty, as severe as death.
Hmm.
Closed lanterns only.
I imagine that also means no smoking.
She
Not
should
that I would be
nods.
doing any of such here.
There should be designated houses for such. Houses made of stone. But those places, I doubt they are allowing of common entrance. You may need to speak with proprietors and get certain writs of entrance and discretion.
Smaller local towns like this tend to be a little bit more, what's the word? Selective with their clientele. They
Yes,
like to keep it local. They don't like to entertain travelers and outsiders too much.
I
Mm.
doubt they will be hostile towards us, but still, I doubt they will be the most open with their doors on arrival. I will send Reina on most occasion for the picking up of herb and spice for the
Good.
making of meal. She most likely will get along better with the local folk than any
Mm.
of us.
And best they go as much time not knowing that she be my servant as possible. I don't imagine many of the people in this valley are going to take kind to any woman purchasing up their land. Mm.
Aelin splutters for a second, turning away from the window and looking to you. Did did she sign manor? Did you purchase a manor?
I'll look at her with a coy grin, not saying a word.
Uh, where are you acquiring this kind of coin? The Archessa?
No, it's all mine, rightfully earned. Mm.
Oh, you will have to tell me sometime how one comes by such fortunes.
It is a long and I know how to put it. Surreal tale. I don't think most would believe it if they heard it with their own ears.
And
Mm.
I think in this case, perhaps, uncomfortable. Signs Salon then, slowly. Aelin
Very much
watches
so.
and nods. Do I want to know?
That is fully up to you. I will never force anything you don't want on you, mother. Mm.
Rena stretches, yawning, and looking between the three of you. She looks out the window and then smiles, pulling herself up quickly and staring out it with wide eyes.
Well,
Elavatti! We're in
mm,
Elavatti! We've arrived!
yes, finally.
Oh, Sao! Look at it! The beauty of Mivrala herself! The tender blossoms of Athera! Oh, have you ever seen anything so spacious? She says, turning around to look at everyone in the wagon.
Mm. Spacious, yes, but as quite refined, no.
She nods eagerly. Oh, my heart could ache. I don't think we could stop. I wouldn't ask it. Just a look.
We'll be here for 2 months. There will be time yet. Just walk about and gander at the hills.
But
Plenty of time.
I will not have time with my duties, she says,
Mm.
looking a bit sullen, but then nods. I guess that is the way of it. I am sure it will be just as grand where we are going as we are now, if not grander. She smiles softly to herself, almost wistfully,
Indeed.
like a child.
And if you attend to your duties well, be sure to give you some spare time off. Hmm?
Ellen smiles, nodding. I'm sure, Reina, she will give you far more than enough time, and I will help where I can. Have no doubt, my dear. You will get to see all and more by the time this is done. Reyna smiles graciously at your mother, bowing her head, a bit of deference. Helen turns to you then. My dear, it's getting late, she says, looking out the window as the sun is almost near to the time of setting.
That it is?
If this Temburn house is even half as fine as the people have made it out to be, I am sure it will itself be the most spacious of establishments.
Well, in a place like this, you don't have to cram tiny little inns and bars into every little alleyway. You have as much space as you'd like to build things. I imagine it's quite a grand place.
The Temburn house is almost 100 years old. It was made by some of the greatest Galdamenes as a waypoint for those who would come to visit their Havares. In translation, it literally means, well, she smiles, the strangers. One sec. It literally translates to the stranger's hall in the old Miri, not in the Alarsh tongue, Salon signs.
Strange that they would name something as such.
Would the stranger's hall not be Aluhava? It would, if you were being formal. But this is quite informal. Oh, I thought Tembren would mean the time of waiting. It could also mean that, yes. Tamwa, Brinne. Ceylon signs then, the old Miri words quick. She is not wrong. It could either mean the stranger's house, or the time of waiting, which would make sense for a place where one would stay the night.
How nuanced the language. I wonder if the owners had that same intention.
I doubt they did. And the Ilarish are nothing if not formal. The informal meaning, more likely, would be slang. I would tend towards not using it in their presence. If one is wise. Aelin nods. Best not to insult their view of things, I think.
When in the alarm, do as the Alarsh do.
Yes, I would agree, signs Salon. And then you see it. The Temburn house itself. It rises up. Beautiful. Old oak. A 3-story building. Wide, spacious. There is, well, a housing pavilion, an awning, raised on a sort of stone terrace which overlooks the road. There is a place for the carriage to be stored. In fact, a few carriages already lie near, lined up neatly under their own pavilion, which sort of stretches out from the balustrade of the house itself over a series of stout wooden beams. Aelin laughs. Isn't that a fair place? And such bright wood.
Curious to see the inside.
The oak is unpainted, bright, polished, and the door is a ruddy red, something of a half circle as well, swinging outwards through an oddly shaped door. Quite pretty. The cobbled stones leading up to it have a neatly tended garden about them, lending the pathway a sort of natural feel.
Oh, it's going to be nice to have a moment to stretch.
The cartman stops before the pathway, and stepping down, lets down the ladder and opens the door, bowing to those inside. We have arrived at the Tambrin house. I will make all arrangements to have the carriage fitted and ready for the morning, mistress, he says to you, smiling.
Thank you kindly, good man. You have done us very well on this long journey.
Ah, you are too gracious, and you pay far too much. I would almost be insulted. Still, welcome to Elavatti. I hope it was a comfortable ride.
Hmm. Much so, yes. I'll stand then and step out,
You step
taking it
out.
slow.
Windy day. Your hair is blown across your shoulders and your face. You have to bring up your hand and pull it out of your eyes so you can see.
Oh, oh, wind.
Aelin ties her hair back quickly, tugging it and twisting it behind her shoulder. Salon steps over to your side and Rena behind the three of you in her place. Salon opens the beautiful gate leading up and towards the Tembren door.
I'll just stand between the cart and the door and stretch my legs for a moment or two after having sat in the cart for however many days.
Salon grins.
Oh,
Take your time. Aelin,
well,
go ahead.
I won't need much of it.
Aelin takes her cane and begins to move slowly. She has left her loot case in the carriage, too heavy for her to carry. Rena takes her satchel with your money and your belongings inside and walks just behind you.
After I'm done stretching my legs and just breathing in some of the fresh country air, I'll step through the gate that Salon's holding open
You step
with my
briskly
mother.
through the gate, a few leaves blowing across and sticking to your hair and on to your long riding dress. You're wearing the
Oh,
Vene dress. It's too cold to wear anything else right now, and you haven't been able to unpack your wardrobe. It's being delivered at the moment to the Ambrel Manor, along with many of your other heavier things, and a few newly purchased large wooden sort of, well, how to put it nicely, not crates, more storage trunks containing various display of new belongings purchased before your leaving of the city. You walk down the old cobbled stone,
hmm.
making your way towards the Tembren door under an archway of tressed vines and twisted wooden beams that create a sort of corridor leading to the burnished red wood.
I'll pick the leaf out of my hair, tossing it aside.
Fire and
Fucking
orange.
wind.
You toss it aside. Nothing more than an afsil blossom. You come up to the door, and it opens before you. A gracious man bowing to the small contingency outside of his establishment. He smiles, taking all of you in. Old, a sweeter man. He has a golden tooth and tawny skin. He's bald, and his robes speak of wealth but not opulence. I have been expecting you. Lady Duskia, he says, smiling at you. Welcome.
I'll walk up to the man, a warm smile on my lips.
He opens up his arms wide in the sense of a man waiting for a hug.
I'll look at the expression, the gesture, and then I'll step forward kindly, wrapping my arms around him as well, missing some of the old country hospitality that some people have.
He is older, he could be your grandfather. And he acts it too in the hug. A gentle touch, not lingering, not pressing you against him. And he steps back smiling. Cal Macario, I am the proprietor of the Tembren House. I received your servant's letter a week hence. I made sure that the establishment was prepared for your arrival. Welcome to the Ilne Mjanne Galne.
Thank you. It is truly all that it is lived up to be, is it not?
Ah,
I'll look around.
I am glad you have found it so. Please, please, I'm sorry. It's windy. It's cold. Come inside. The hearth. The hearth is warm.
Hmm. Thank you. I'll step in and then I'll turn, looking at the other three behind me.
They follow in suit, the door closing, with a bit of a crankiness to the hinge. The sound of the wind dampens, and the sound of the hearth brightens. It's comfortable in here. Very comfortable. Dark ochre wood, a strong stone hearth, held together through many years of care and love. A fire briskly burning, a pot over it, a few tables, a mounted cobra's head, and a few less gaudy and more natural decorations, twisting vines on the walls across the dark wood, lending some lightness to the color there. It is all pleasant, and in company just as pleasant you find yourself. A few old sorts, sitting around, drinking, sharing stories. No one young, no one fresh. Galm turns to you. I have prepared a soup of the finest lentils and carrots. I have stewed tomatoes, and for the main course, I have found a roasted head of cobra, the finest flesh of cheek you will ever have, tender, soft,
Hmm.
vibrant.
Oh, that sounds delightful. Good, hearty food.
He nods, grinning. I am glad you think so. Very glad. Now, he leads you towards a table near to the hearth, as close as one can get without the overt heat of that furnace, scalding the skin. It is quite hot, lending itself well to the interior of the Tembern house. Aelin takes a seat.
I'll walk over and sit at her side.
Silan sits not far. Reyna stands. Gom turns to her. You may sit and eat with your mistress, but you will need to find yourself in the servants' quarters before the time of our e'en. It is the way of this house. Reyna nods slowly and turns to you, bowing to you. I would not protest in taking my dinner to the servants' mess room.
Don't reject the good man's hospitality. Sit, join us.
She sits a bit tentatively, a bit uncomfortably, on the other side of the table. Gaum clasps his hands. Ah, and what to drink? I have an ale from the north, a Voltianan draught. I have Ordan, Galaria, Daskian. I have Tovrish Dark. I have many things and more. Is there any particulars that the ladies prefer?
Hmm. Thoughtful look will flick into my eyes. I'll turn to my mother as I'm thinking, seeing what she's considering.
Do you have meat? Aelin asks. Ah, yes, I do. Ah, taken from the hives south of Elavatti, in fact. A master beekeeper there, a good fellow, sends it up often. We have it cast, sprigged with herbs, and then, well, a gentle process of aging. We use cedar mostly. She nods. That will do well. Dom turns to you. The same or different?
I'm curious to try the Odan.
They are done. Ah, newer For older vinth, I have, well, a bottle of 1361. 10 years is not bad, and it'll run you far cheaper than the vents of the 50s. I have 2 bottles of that, but they are about 3 times the price.
And what would that price be?
Ah, for a 13 or for a 3153. Well, as you know, once the bottle's cork has left its throat, it cannot be sold again. The wine loses its potency, so the cost of the bottle for the first glass. He thinks for a second, doing permutations in his head, and then smiles. 25 senar. Aelin blanches a bit at that and looks down at the table. I'm sure the 31. Oh, the 3160 would be fine. She looks at you, eyebrows
I'll turn
raised.
to her with an amused look on my face and then look back at the men. Hmm.
It
Yes, I think
is.
I.
Go ahead.
What was the year of the one of the older vintage? He said.
3153. 10
I have a
years
glass.
older than the other.
The 3153. Hmm.
Ah, a good choice. Raina quickly opens up your satchel and then hands the money to you so you may finish the transaction.
I don't have enough senar, but I do have plenty of gov. So
He looks at the Gov and then, taking it, smiles. I shall see if I have enough senar to split this. The meal itself shall be 3 senar for the 4 of you. I shall take that off the price and come back with 12 in turn, he asks.
sounds fair.
He nods, smiling. Very well. And then, gently, he steps out and into the kitchens. Aelin turns to you, looking about the place. It is a bit moody, isn't it? Not in a bad way. Just, well, you know.
I'll look around then, taking in some of the atmosphere of the place, trying to get a sense of things.
If it was more inhabited, it might be cheerful, even. But you being the only denizens at this time, outside of a few old folk, it does have a sort of sultriness to it, a
Hmm.
mood, as it would be, an emptiness.
I prefer this. I like places like this a lot. The gilded glass, the galleon, they both have a similar feeling to them in the air.
Well, I am glad that there isn't, well, a more raucous clientele. Still, normally an occasion like this would have someone plying a string or even some sort of music, but this place seems bare of that sort of thing. Perhaps the harpist is simply ill on this day, she says, nodding to herself. It is a bit quiet. You listen to the sound of the wind outside, the sound of the fire, the tinkling of glasses, the scrape of metal against wood on occasion.
Hmm. That is a curious thought, yes.
It's a bit eerie, says Aelin even. Ceylon signs. It's fine. I doubt there is any nefarious intent here.
None at all.
Simply, it is a cold autumn day in the midweek. I doubt the farmhands have the coin, and I doubt the Galdamenes leave their halvares. This place is meant for people like you and I, and there are few of those going through at this time of year. I am sure if we came through before the harvest season, it would be boisterous even, filled with life. But now is a cold season. People find themselves in sanctuary, huddling down in the places they know well. Aelin nods at that. I understand. Oh,
You also have a harp and fingers. You could ask the good man if you'd ply your trade here, I'm sure. Hmm. The worst you'd get is a no.
I did not bring my Ardent with me.
Oh, you didn't?
She looks
Hmm.
at you. My sigil. I had to leave that with the House of Nith.
Oh.
The Ardent being her sigil. A pin carried on a Gunlari to show one is a musician. Without it, legally, I would be in a lot of trouble if I asked to play here.
Hmm.
This isn't Vanna, where any vagabond or minstrel along the road or bard can simply waltz into an establishment and play. They're very strict about that sort of thing, she
Laws,
whispers.
traditions, and customs and the such. Hmm.
Yes. She nods slowly. I would have to be reinstated with some sort of music hall or some official, some sort of, or have a patron that could lend me such a sigil. Then might I again ply my trade in such places.
If you ever wish that, I'm sure we could figure something out together.
I'm sure we could, but it's quite expensive, and I would not wish to interfere with your financial affairs further. You've already been too gracious, my love.
Hmm. I would not wish for you to be deprived of your music.
At that, Galm steps in, handing around bowls of soup and stewed tomatoes spiced on plates. The silverware is furnished, silver filigree lining along its cold surface, in the fashion of the Vene even, or the tavern. A
Hmm.
bottle of wine is brought. He places it down on the center of the table and then grins, looking around. It is too old to open with screw. So, tonight, you'll get the smallest of shows. He places down a small cup filled with ice and a brush inside of it. He is carrying a pair of metal tongs, uh, the end in a circular shape, to fit to the cylinder of a bottle's lid. He gently walks over and lies it in the fire, letting the tip slowly heat as he turns back. He lifts up the bottle to show it to you. Would you like to inspect it further? He turns it so you can see it.
Hmm. I'll eyeball it.
For legitimacy, of course. He smiles. It has the Vint seal of the Galdamene of Elavatti upon it, and the Vint date itself when it was bottled. The bottling date, of course, is 5 years prior to the barreling date. The barreling date as well is embellished, and the seal about the cork is wax with the Ordon sigil upon it. Everything looks to be in good fashion. This is a legitimate bottle of Old Ordon, 3153.
As legitimate as any other good bottle I've ever seen.
I
Hmm.
have on rare occasion opened such a fine bottle. I shall bring, well, a carafe to allow the wine to aerate properly. Will we allow the tongues to heat? He steps away quickly and then brings back a carafe. He smiles, placing it down. A fine porcelain thing, it should be said, well painted, with the most beautiful lines of small birds fluttering across its white surface and blossoms of flowers opening up inside of it. Magnificent piece of porcelain ware.
That's a beautiful piece.
Ah, it has been in the Tumbrin house for generations. We only bring it out for the oldest vints that we open here.
Hmm.
It is deserving of a 3153 and an Ordon bottle. He smiles. The Ordons have a strange process. They age twice, two different barrels. Not normal. It lowers the amount that can be bottled each year. First in oak, then in off-vir wood. The casks are extravagantly expensive. Off-vir is rare, but it gives a uniqueness, a strange and subtle woodiness to the wine. I think you will find it far more pleasing to the palate than something aged in a single cask of wood.
Sounds like a great way to start our stay here.
Ellen nods, smiling. It's a bit nerve-wracking, isn't it? She says, looking at you. Her eyes smiling, crow's feet at the edges, showing her age, or at least the stress that she's endured.
I'm sitting there totally cool, a very faint smile on my lips, looking between her and the man.
This bottle, well, it's older than you, she says, looking at you. Can you imagine something bottled before you were even born? Opening that kind of thing, too. It seems just a bit fanciful. It is an extravagant occasion, he says, gently picking up the metal tongs. He brings them over and gently places them around the edge of the fine bottle of Ordon wine. He pushes them down slightly, heating the glass, and then gently he pulls it away and places it in a bucket beside him. Then, watering the brush, he gently sort of plies it against the glass in a circle, swiping it. Then you hear a rigid crack. He gently pulls out a towel and then removes the top of the bottle where it's cracked away. Would the mistress like the cork? It should be dated the same for the occasion.
Please. I'll smile.
Gently, he pushes the cork out of the broken piece of glass in the opposite direction along with the wax seal and places it down on the table in front of you. It's soaked, dyed with wine halfway up the cork surface, showing that this is in fact a very old bottle. Then, gently, he begins to pour into the carafe, allowing the wine to fill it almost completely. There should be enough for 6 glasses. Would you prefer a taller glass or a wider one?
Think about the dynamics of that
A
when
taller
drinking it.
glass would allow you better to nose the wine, to smell it, to get its hints and its notes. A wider glass is better for aeration, to swirl the wine, to get air into it, to bring out the richness of the taste. But it will lose some of its subtleties and scent.
A wider glass.
Very well. He goes and fetches these things, placing them down on the table. 3 glasses. One for each of you, but not one in front of Reyna. Erlen's mead also is poured into a glass, so that now she has 2 before her, in front of her fine meal. She begins eating slowly, waiting for the subtle wine to settle in the carafe. Gom turns to you then. When I heard that we were, well, adding a new member into our small hamlet, a new landowner even, I was beside myself with joy. And such a fine young woman, too, and of good heritage.
I
Now,
smile widely at that.
There may be those who say, you do not belong here, but do not let them bully you. You belong here as much as the next one. All that matters is that you produce, he says, smiling, whether it be grape or plum or apple. Produce, and they will accept you, regardless of where you're from. Just don't produce too well, he says, grinning. That might lend you a little bit more competition than you might be comfortable with. But who am I to speak of what you are comfortable with or not? Here, let me pour.
I
Pours from the
smile at him.
carafe into 3 glasses.
I do like competition, but I have a lot of work to do with the land I've purchased.
I have no doubt. You will find the rooms tonight to be in good order. I have had goose down for the pillows. And, well, the sheets are made of a fine southern silk. Only from the best cravieres of Alarmir. And the mattresses, handmade in Valtiena, of the finest oak frames. You shall never have slept well in your whole life, and the dreams shall be magnificent, he says, smiling broadly.
What did he say his name was again?
Galm.
You know how to welcome a woman into your home, Gown.
I know how to welcome a guest. I have served Jalasate, and, he says, smiling, I have served many of the finest vassals of the Southlands. I have even had an Ilna step foot over my threshold.
Oh, which one?
They know, he says,
Hmm.
and what a man he was. He gave a contribution to the place, he says, nodding over his shoulder at a beautiful-looking spear hung on hooks on the wall. He said that was his grandfather's. He said he had no more use of such things, and brought it to me as a gift, and somewhat in payment.
I'll turn to the spear, admiring it with my eyes and
Long,
nodding along.
still polished and sharpened to the day, in the style of a Vene lancer. Long, thin, deadly-looking barb about halfway down the blade to allow it to catch.
A piece of history, no doubt.
Ah, no doubt it saw use against the Miri, he says, nodding. A bit of a grimace on his face then. Let us not speak of those people. Not in polite company. He pours for the 3 of you. Let us instead speak of Ordon and his great works.
Once he's poured my glass, I'll go about drinking it. Nothing too incredibly fancy with the motions of it, but just enjoying it.
Roll a d100. You have a plus 10. Ah. You smell it for a second. Cassis. Notes of herb. A delightful woodiness. The oak is prominent. You drink, tasting it in your mouth, full. There's body to this, richness, like a chocolate. Even, it fills the throat. There's like a nuttiness to it. And a hint of fruit. Nothing too severe about the sort of the vinegar taste. Something this old is going to have that. It's almost pleasant. A tingling it leaves on the tongue. And there's no tannin to it at all, no bitterness, no dryness in the sides of the mouth. It swallows smoothly. You find yourself quite
Mhm.
admiring it, even more so than Daskian. This is fine stuff.
I'll look up at the man, a very obviously impressed look on my face.
He
I don't regret
smiles.
my decision at all. This is masterful. Hmm.
Ah, that I will let the Ordan Havare know. that the Daskian heiress finds their wine acceptable. They shall find it to be an honor, no doubt.
Smile at the man, toasting my drink a little bit, and then going back to just enjoying it in my food.
Aelin takes a drink and swallows, and then, fuck! That is good!
Mm.
Oh, fuck! Gom looks at her a bit more narrow-eyed, but then grins wider. Ah, I see you have similar and good taste. It is worth every senar, I promise. And the food? To your liking? Aelin smiles. Soft, well stewed, and the seasonings, the herbs, fantastic. Proprietor Gom, this is a delight. Thank you so much.
I would expect a bottle this old to have a more vinegary taste, but even it is so subtle. It's a delight on the tongue, just like the rest of the flavors.
It is the
Mm.
corks they use. They specially select them from the finest stock. A cork is a living thing, you know. It can contract, it can tighten, it can even regrow over time. Holes punched in it can simply disappear, given enough time. The corks the Ordans use give a certain vitality. It allows very little air, but just enough to pass through. And I find that Ordan wines have the minimal amount of sedimentation to them. Now then, may I present dessert? Jellied grapes, coated in a balm of honey, and served with a fine and thick cream, sugared well and thoroughly. He places out the dishes on the table. Aelin grins even wider. They have sweets, my little dancer, and such wonderful sweets, too. Oh,
Get used to it.
I I don't think I could. My teeth would rot. Better your teeth rot on such things. Then, well, he shrugs. Is there anything else I can provide, Lady Doska? Or
Not at all.
shall you see
All
to
of,
the service of your room?
all of this has been more than enough.
I am
Thank you.
glad. 3 rooms. I will sure that the kitchen staff shall bring proper succor out to your cartman.
Please,
Shall I
be
take
so.
the last dregs of the bottle to him as well? I am sure he would find them delightful.
I would appreciate that, yes, and so would he.
Ah, he nods, slowly pouring what is left in some of the glasses into one glass, and then pouring the last of the wine in the carafe. I am sure he will not get so drunk as to be irresponsible with the ladies tomorrow. Still, he shall appreciate your hospitality, no doubt. Rena finishes her food and stands and turns to you. I will make my way now to the servants' quarter. I deeply appreciate you having me sup with you.
I'll just give her a polite nod.
She turns and steps away. Silon watches her go, then turns to you and signs. To the rooms, then. Early morning.
To the rooms, then. Yes. It'd be nice to sleep in a bed.
Gently, she walks over and helps you up. You're sore from the carriage ride. Aelin's room is on the first floor, yours on the second. You're given keys, and Aelin says her good nights, though a bit tipsy. I will see you in the morning. I'm so grateful you brought me. Truly. Thank you.
I'll step forward away from Salon and wrap my arms around her.
It is going to be a delightful time, isn't it?
Hmm.
I needed this.
I know you did, and that's why I fought tooth and nail to drag you along.
It's just hard. I worry if I stop, I'll never start again. Oh,
Would that be so bad?
yes. I have too much to do and my life is long. I hope. And Orlin hopes too.
Hmm.
Still,
Slow down some and it will be even longer.
yes.
Hmm?
Rithnya Arani, my little dancer. Sleep well.
I'll let go of her then and turn back to Salon, heading for my room.
Turn back around. Ceylon takes your hand and helps you up the stairs, feeling a bit tipsy yourself. You step into the fine chamber of your room. The wind has died down outside almost completely. The sound of the fire dissipates. It's a fine room, a good room, not quite as large as your one in the Verela, and far more curt and obvious with its decoration. But the bed frame, the bed itself, is, well, exquisite. He wasn't lying. The head of the bed is a twisting series of vines carved of wood, all twisting about each other into small little blossoms, beautifully carved out of the wood.
I'll take it all in with a faint smile, and then I'll walk over to the bedside, just plopping down on it, falling back into the sheets, staring up at the ceiling.
Slan reaches up and undoes her gandlari, unveiling herself as well as she does so and reaching out to you with her mind.
Hmm.
We are here. This is good. You seem to be in good spirits. You are in good spirits, she whispers into your mind softly.
I try.
You're doing better. I'm proud of you.
I look down some, just kind of staring longingly at the ceiling. Hmm. It'll be good.
It
All
will.
of this.
Do not fret too much. Let it be as it is. I promise you,
Hmm.
when all this is over, you will love this place. Though you may hate the training. Or perhaps you'll love that too.
You know it's not in me to just let things be as they are.
No, it isn't, is it? She moves over, gently undoing the back of your girdle. She rolls you on over
Sit up.
onto your face.
Hmm. I'll sit up so that she can get to it, and also help myself take it off.
You help. She helps you out of the riding dress and out of your shoes, gently pulling them off your feet, smiling as she does so. She lifts up a hand, intertwining it into your hair, looking up at you.
I'll look up at her as well, staring her in the eyes,
Down at her where she
softly.
kneels beneath the bed, looking up at you. I had my worries. I still have some. But I think I can let some of them go in this place.
Good. You need not shoulder every burden on your shoulders, mine and others.
Are you ready to treat with Yerlo Galaria tomorrow? Have you prepared yourself for that?
Hmm. I don't want to overthink it.
She nods. Good. That is wisdom.
I don't know the type of man I'm dealing with, what it would be like. I could spend all night trying to think what it'd be like, and I'd never hit the mark. Best to just go and see.
Desire runs through her. That scent, that unveiled scent, driving home. She slightly pulls it back, not veiling, but lessening it. You will need your edge tomorrow, so we will have to forgo all of that just
I'm
tonight.
not up for it tonight either. And in
She
such a
nods.
place, well, as quiet as this,
I
we'd make quite
know,
the ruckus.
she says, smiling, speaking
Hmm.
into your mind. Trust me. I know.
Let's just enjoy each other's company.
She curls up next to you.
I'll roll over on the bed some, taking a spot, and then letting her come close. I'll intertwine around her as well, just kind of lay there, looking across,
Do you
staring her in her
wish
pale eye.
do you wish to dream tonight? Or would you like darkness?
Hmm. I have that choice now, don't I? Such a
You do.
strange thing. Hmm.
Once
Just
again,
nothingness tonight.
she
Sweet nothingness.
nods.
Enjoy your dreams on your own. Hmm.
Very well. She
I'll be
smiles.
here when you wake.
I know. She closes her eyes, veiling herself so that you will not share with her in those moments of slumbering contemplation.
I'll pull away as well before she does, as to not feel cut off.
You do so. Feeling your own weariness, you close your eyes and let darkness take you. Your eyes open in the morning to the brisk sounds of the outside, another carriage going past, a soft but gentle wind howling. Salon stirs beside you. She turns to look at you.
I'll sit up and pull myself to the edge of the bed, towards the window side if there is one.
You do so, looking out the window.
I'll keep some of the sheets pulled up in front of me, but I will still look out the window.
A gentle stirring of the wind rustles the leaves from the branches of the trees outside. You watch as they float past, littering the causeway and the cobbled stone. Salon gently picks up your riding dress and brings it over to you.
This is right.
This is good. She sighs. This is good.
Yes.
All is as it should be. All we had to do was let it become what it desired.
I'll stare out of the window a moment longer, a contemplative look in my eyes, ponderous. Not really paying attention to Salon in the riding dress, just the sounds of the street and the wind, the leaves. My own inner thoughts as well.
You do so, letting those things sweep over you for a moment of contemplation, and then Salon gently taps your shoulder.
I'll
Well,
blink, turning my head.
best not to be
Okay.
truant.
Yes, we have business to attend to. I'll stand then,
Good
walking over
business,
and taking the dress.
she signs. The best kind of business. You listen to the soft sounds of the morning birds as Salon dresses you, twittering and tweeting. The sounds of nature, the braying of cobra in the distance, and the sounds of farmhands working fields. All comfortable, all at peace. not the raucous sounds of Elavar. This is something comfortable and, at least in your mind, understandable. You've been in places like this before, though never in a place quite like this. Still, there is a nostalgia to all of it. A common comfort shared openly and freely.
I have the feeling that this business will be a lot more pleasant than anything the city could ever produce.
I have
Living
no
here,
doubt.
it's slow, it's comfortable. It makes gentle people. Hmm.
I doubt they will try to scare you off. Instead, they will get into your good graces. They want allies. They want solidarity. The Ilne Mianagalne has always stood with one another,
Hmm.
forming the Council of the Renewal of Blood. And though it
And
may
whether they like
sound,
it or not, I'm one of them now. Hmm.
yes, legally and in heart, this place calls to you. I could feel it.
Yes.
Good.
Brings back good memories, the few I have.
She laces up the gentle walking shoes and then brings her hose up, fastening them to the garters about your waist to keep them in place. There.
I'll go about aiding her with this.
Best you look like a Vene when you arrive. Look as you are. There is no point in hiding it, like an Ealavar. Here, they will respect that. Here, they know things for what they are.
I do miss this dress. Hmm.
It is beautiful on you, she says,
Skin.
gently putting her hands around your waist, squeezing a bit. It shows all the right things. Gently she moves her hands up from the corset to your breasts, gently squeezing them, accentuating. Hands gently moving up to your bare neck then, and offering that which is most beautiful. A gentle finger then running across your jaw, and behind your ear she clasps her hand.
Hmm. I'll stand there, somewhat frozen, swallowing. You're trying your damnedest to make me throw out all my business today and just stay here with you, aren't you? Hmm?
Perhaps
Will, don't tempt me.
best you bare your neck. Vene women do not cover that. It may also draw attention, which is what we want.
Hmm. I could always wear the Livari as well. The green one.
The Lavari will cover your neck, and it will look in good fashion. The dress, though, she says, looking down at the dark blue folds of it, the green and blue will clash.
This was the riding dress, was it not? Or was this a different one?
The riding dress from Vene was a dark blue.
Oh, okay. I thought it was black.
It was black and blue. I remember it was
Gotcha.
blue specifically because it was in similarity to one of the pieces Ayana would have worn, which are all
Hmm.
blue.
All blue. Okay. Makes sense.
And your grandmother seemed to want to dress you in the style of her dead daughter.
As I look down at the color of the dress, I'll kind of roll that thought around in my head for a second. A bit disturbed.
The Livari, however, might go better with the Chata dress. I could fetch it, but that would lose us a long amount of preparation time.
Hmm. How much prep do we need? I'll walk over to where my timepiece is and pull it out.
We have perhaps half an hour to arrive. It's not far from here. 5 minutes by carriage. You saw it on the way down the hill. The
Yes.
large Havare, with the rather spacious Appalachia covering at least 3 hills.
Hmm. I'll make this work for today. Though another day, that would be a good pairing.
I will note it down. She smiles and then, walking over, gently kisses you on the neck.
Oh, stop. I'll push her away.
She looks not hurt by that, but a little surprised, and then smiles softly.
I'll do it playfully, a smile on my face.
Apologies. I really do
As I
need to take
said,
my own advice.
there will be time for that, well enough. Don't tempt me. Hmm?
I've merely found myself in the wagon. 4 days is a long time.
Hmm.
Still,
Sitting there so close?
it is your needs that should be considered. I can handle myself.
Hmm.
Come, there will be no breakfast at the Tembren. We will need to make our way soon.
Yes,
Rena will stay here. I have seen to it before you woke.
good. There will be time well enough to see to your needs in the future. I'll give her a playful grin and then step towards the door once I'm fully ready to go.
You step to the door, now prepared for the day. Ceylon helps you down into the Tembren house's ground floor. Erlen's there, sitting near the hearth, drinking water. She looks at you. You're awake. Good. Still haven't changed out of that dress, I see. We'll have to have Rena wash it. Or I could wash it.
We'll find time enough, and I have other dresses. Mm.
Yes.
I
Are we
was thinking
taking...
about wearing the Shatta silk with the Luvari, but not enough time today.
You own a piece of Shatta
Mm.
silk?
Yes.
I should have known. Why am I even surprised anymore?
I actually got it for a very good price in Lily. Which town was it again?
Lilin.
Lily. Lilin. Yes.
Oh,
Mm.
I didn't know something like that could be found in Lilin.
Mhm. It was
It's,
actually the first dress that I had ever bought.
you know, we're
Mm.
not far from where they harvest and weave Shatta silk. You know how it's done?
I think the merchant went on some long tirade about the ongoings of it, but that's far left my mind at this point.
Not worms, spider silk.
Hmm.
The breed is especially large, bigger than the palm of your hand, but very docile, I've heard. Some people keep them as pets. They're hairless, though I've heard they have quite a hard sort of carapace about them. Venomless, too. They protect themselves with, well, rather delicate and extravagant houses of the silk. Quite
Never quite
sticky.
minded spiders. Hmm.
Hmm. I've never found them quite unappealing. I know some women will shriek and, well, will clutch themselves at the mere thought of one. Not me.
I'll shake my head in something of disillusionment. I've had them wake up in my hair before and such things. It's not fun living on the road and some. Never
That's...
mind.
I think I'd
Uh,
shriek at that. That's a little too
no,
close even for me.
I did a few times, but you get used to it eventually.
No
Would you
doubt.
like to come with us today, or are you just.
I don't think I would desire to be there on your first visit. Maybe the second. I might take away from the occasion, and I do not see a benefit in my appearance. Plus, I would not leave Rena here lonely. I will make sure all things are in accordance for, well, our arrival at your manor.
Wherever we're going, yes. Mhm.
She nods.
I'll leave you to your morning then.
Very
Enjoy.
well. Ceylon takes her hand and guides you out, back onto the cobblestone path. She turns then, looking left and right, and finds the carriageman. He's sitting there, gently chewing on a piece of tobacco in the corner, leaning up against the fence, staring
I wonder,
off at the hills.
What was his name again? I'll whisper in Salon's ear.
I didn't ask.
I'll shrug then and start walking towards him.
He turns to look at you and quickly spits the tobacco out and across the fence so it's not in the garden yard. Then he stands. Ah, Lady Doskia, you have arrived. I have made the preparations. I am prepared to take us to the, well, Galaria Havare.
Thank you. You know, it just struck me that I never caught your name.
Gonsu, he says. It is Gonsu.
Gansu.
I
Well met.
have, he smiles. I have been a cartsman on these roads for almost a decade. Still not as tenured as some, but you will have noticed how smooth the ride was, he says, grinning.
My thoughts exactly.
Now, I am to take you to the Galeria Havare, and then I hear I am to wait. We shall be arriving back at the Tembrin house, and then the Ambro Manor, I hear.
You are correct.
He nods. Ah, very good, very good. He opens the door for the two of you, the gate leading out into the carriage, which has been prepared, the dun steeds lined up with the barding.
I politely nod to him as I pass, stepping up into the carriage.
He helps you up and into the carriage and then climbs up on top of it, the coachman taking his place with the reins. Ceylon steps up with you, and then the man gives, "Yah! Yah!" and the carriage begins along its path.
I'm sitting there in the carriage. I'll look over at Salon, taking what she's wearing, how she's looking today.
Imperious, dark robe of a large meg, a veil about her forehead, covering completely her hair, and then her neck wrapped in a black unlari. It has a silver Muna pin both at the waist and at the neck, and her Levari half-cloak is a dark grey against the black and goes down her left shoulder, covering her arm there. You know there's more like a couple knives hidden somewhere there, out of sight, easy to reach. She looks more imperious and more dark than you could have ever imagined, really making a show of it, you feel.
I'll just grin, looking at her as I take her and sizing her up and down.
There's black powder under her eyes, in the fashion of someone from Ealavar. Though none of the Alarishmen you've seen here wear that kind of thing.
You do try your best to look like you're about to murder someone.
You have no Garo. Thus, they must know that you at least have competent people around you. She signs. I would not want them thinking you are weak. We must give off the proper airs. You delicate, beautiful, gracious. I, the venom on your knife.
How poetically put.
Any wound you cut, I will seep into. Now, she says, crossing her legs in repose, and unveiling in full, wrapping her mind about yours. You feel almost intoxicated, your legs and thighs shaking for a second. She smiles at you.
Not so sudden. I'll
I
cross
am
my legs
simply
somewhat.
reminding you of your promises. She signs, smiling darkly. You're mine tonight. And
I concede.
will make you scream. She signs then, grinning, showing her the top row of her teeth then as she leans in.
I'll stare at her with an amused look. That doesn't work on me. I know what lies beneath all of that veil of yours.
She leans back in repose, bringing up her shoulders to make herself seem broader. Oh, and you think me not capable, she sighed slowly.
It's not a matter of capability. Rather that there's just a much more loving and softer side under all of that you're trying to show off, all that posturing. You're not some ice cold bitch.
Not with you, I'm not. She
And
looks
that's why I
out the
said it
window.
doesn't work on me.
My mistake, she sighs then softly, expression becoming a bit more of a smile. This man, Yerlo Galaria, he has a wife, one son. Though his wife has parted ways with him, though the marriage has not been dissolved. Good to note, I think.
A typical lover spat or something a little bit more dramatic?
She tried to get her hands into his estate a little more than the Galaria family thought prudent. They cut her off, but they've been having difficulties severing her lawfully. At least not without giving her certain writs and recipes that they find more important to the family than blood itself. Something of a titanic struggle in this valley.
Politics always, everywhere.
I believe he has 2 sons. She thinks for a second. The elder is named Ferren. You most likely will not see him. He is often away with his father on matters of the Havare. The younger is named Cantilio, and I've heard is something of a rambunctious young man.
I was about to ask, how young is this younger?
The younger is perhaps a year younger than you. The older,
Great.
2 years older. The two of them have been known on occasion to cause problems, though they can be more than amicable with the local ladies, I've heard as well.
I imagine they'll try to wrap me around their fingers.
I have little doubt of that.
Maybe I'll wrap them around mine. I'll grin
Of
darkly.
that, I also have little doubt. It would be unlike you to do otherwise. Opportunities must be taken and used accordingly. Every prospect is viable if they meet the right credentials.
Stick your fingers in too many pots, however. You run out of fingers.
Yes, there is sure to be a snake in the basket. If we want to continue on giving metaphors, she says, grinning.
I'm more reluctant and cautious in these matters.
Good. You turn around the corner, and then you see it again, but now in better repose. The Galaria Havare. Tall, imperious, with marble beams holding up a stone roof. The walls of its west wing are made of burnished dark wood, and the causeway leading up to the door is of burnished marble and cobbled stone of bright colors. You can see the hills, the Appalachia, rising up behind it, 3 sturdy mounds covered in vines. Farmhands busy at work, tending, cutting, grooming, caring for the grapes more preciously than any mother cared for a son. It's a fantastic display of wealth, far more tasteful than many of the Havares within the city, and far wider, it should be said. Celan looks at it. Quite a lot of space for such a small family. Do you think they drown in the stone?
I'll stare at it observantly, scrutinizing the building before me.
You could fit a
Hmm.
1,000 people in those halls. You could house the greatest gala, or the finest of parties. 2 sons and a father? And what kind of serving staff would be required to upkeep such a place? Prodigious, you think? Quite prodigious.
What a place. Hmm.
Yes. You come to a stop before the gate. Garo, there. You recognize them immediately, wearing the black undlari with the silver trim, the conical caps on their heads, the carapaced, yet decorative breastplates, the long skirts running down to their knees, and the sandaled feet, the long spears in their hands gleaming under the brief light of the sun cresting the Appalachian hills. The cartman opens the door for you, smiling.
I'll
We
smile back to
have
him and step in.
arrived. I shall keep the carriage near to the entrance for the lady.
Much appreciated, Ganso.
Gonzo grins. I hope your stay in the Galeria Havare is fine and spacious. The 2 Gaudar step forward and bow, kneeling their necks to you, far less stiff than those of the city. The taller and older among them, with a waxed mustache, grins, his mustache spreading wide. Welcome, Lady Doska. It's almost jarring to not hear Agaro speaking in that boast and austere tone of command they often take. Yarlo is awaiting you. Shall I lead you?
Let's not keep him waiting any longer, then.
Very
I'll
well.
smile.
Right this way, Lady Doska. He opens the gate. And then, as you step inside, he strides beside the 2 of you. He looks at Salon and then looks to you, grinning. Toll, that one? Tovrish? The Garo asks.
Yes.
Ah. From where do you hail, Tovrish woman?
Hmm.
Salon grins darkly and opens her mouth. His eyes go a bit dark. He looks away quickly and then tries to not look as though he's averting his gaze rudely.
She is without a tongue. She cannot
I
speak.
can see that. I did not mean to offend. Salon just laughs hoarsely. The man turns around, his back getting a bit stiffer. This way. He will take you in the terrace garden.
Please. I'll nod and then walk along.
He leads you up, and onto a terrace, a beautiful stairwell leading up its surface. And over marbled bricks you step, looking down at the fine cracks beneath. You are approaching a circular table with a sephral printed or carved upon its surface, and a few rosen chairs rising up with padding stitched carefully into their backs around it. All around there are fountains, beautiful maidens undressed, water gently trickling from their hands from the mouths of birds that they carry. In the center of it all sits Jarlo Galaria. He is a rather dignified man, thin, not fat in the way of most Ilarishmen, but muscular, even in his age. Balding, it should be said, his hairline receded greatly, what's left of it braided back around his shoulders. It's white, like snow, and his eyes are keen and brown. He has a comfortableness to him, a sort of look, like one who sits long in reservation, thinking on things of import. As he sees you,
Okay.
go ahead.
I'll come into his vision and walk up to him, tall and majestic in my stride. And once I come to meet him, I'll give him a bow in the Vene fashion.
He looks up at you and smiles softly. Welcome. Welcome. We have awaited you for a long time, Lady Doskia. We had wondered when the Doskians would seek purchase in the lands of Elavatti, but it seems you have arrived at last. Good.
And on most unexpected tides.
Yes, I've heard. He stands and bows in turn, smiling like an old grandfather.
My features will turn soft.
So what brings you to the Ilnemyanda Galne? The Ambral Estate? Or the land on which it sits?
Hmm. Well, tasteful wine, the beautiful trees, the
Ah,
cool winds. Hmm.
did you know that there is an arboretum on the Ambral Manor's grounds?
What is an arboretum
An
exactly?
arboretum is like a garden, but specifically for trees. It's a tree garden. Different species and variants of trees grown close together and well kept.
Really?
Yes, I heard that there was at least 3 arcles of species in the arboretum, though I am sure some of them have not fared well in the long time that the place has been mistreated.
Yes. A shame. I hope it has not fallen into too much disrepair.
For a
Hmm.
time, Veylan Fair took care of it, but I'm afraid the man is far too mad nowadays to be of much use as a groundskeeper. If he gives you trouble, you'll let me know, won't you? But try not to be too stern with him. He still sees it as his birthright.
Hmm. I would never. Hmm.
Good. He's fragile, though he can be a bit fiery. Would you like? I have a fresh loaf of honeyed bread here. Excellent, Meg. Fresh from the kitchens. Would you like a nibble?
Please, while we talk, I have not eaten this morning.
It's pre-sliced and already glazed with a fine, sweet butter. He presses it across the table, slide it in front of you.
Hmm.
It's quite delightful, but a bit rich. Be careful.
I'll try it, eating it slowly, taking in the flavor.
However, this sweetened butter is made, you would kill to know. It
Hmm.
really completes the bread, gives it a sense of something almost candied. You do have to eat it slow. It's rich, it's sticky, and it's delightful. I find often such things pair fine with a pale wine, he says, pouring from a carafe. This here is the finest gold. Not from my own orchards, of course. We only produce reds. in the Galaria Havare. Comes from the Perium. He offers you the glass.
After I finish chewing a bite of the bread, I'll reach a hand across gently and bring it up to my lips.
Tart, tangy, sweet, almost like a port. The hints of wood are very soft, not strong, and it's definitely a younger wine. Still a little bit of kick to it, not yet settled with age. It pairs well with the bread.
Mm. I'll close my eyes as I do so, just relaxing, letting my shoulders fall. Then I'll open them back up and stare at the man, a very soft, warm look in them.
I'm glad you appreciate it. I can tell from your face. Ah, your servant. I was told you had a Tavish woman with you. He smiles, looking at her. Welcome to the Gloria Havare. She, in the respectful way of a woman, curtsies gently, one arm sweeping outwards at her side. I am so eager to get to our business today. I hope I'm not pushing too fast, but there is a lot of things that have to be done, arrangements that have to be fulfilled, you understand.
Yes, and I would not take up any more of your time than you would willingly give.
I'm afraid it is less a matter of taking up my time and me taking up yours. You see, I have had to clear a schedule far into the mid-evening for this arrangement. I hope that is acceptable.
Mm.
There are
My schedule.
complexities that have to be adhered to when it comes to this particular piece of land and estate, you understand?
I see. The rest of my day is clear. I'm ready to commit myself to this.
Very well, I hope this isn't too inconvenient for you.
Not at all.
I know you're eager to get to where you want to be, but the journey must be proper. The destination will sour.
Oh, that I know all too well.
Gently, he pulls out an ink pot and a quill from a small wooden box beside him and sets them down on the table, smiling at you. You have brought the writs, I have no doubt. Sillon moves forward, producing them.
I'll turn and take them from her hands, placing them down on the table between me and the man.
He pulls up a glass sort of paperweight, placing it down so the wind doesn't blow it away, and begins to read, bringing up a small piece of glass to his eye, a faceting monocle. Yes, I see. This is all in good order. I see you have already paid off the necessary accreditations for the estate to the proper individuals. Fourth wife, Prithee, do you understand the necessitation of the upkeep of such a place?
I understand that it must be upkept, though I do not know realistically what that might look like in practice.
The arboretum and the orchard in question have become wild. I do not expect you to handle that in the winter season, though when spring comes around, you may need to send staff down to, well, fix things up a bit. Do you have a ward in mind for the estate? Or do you plan to have an extended stay? I was under the impression you were here for the next 2 months.
2 months, yes, and then I must return to Elavatti.
Who will you name as steward? The house requires a ward. Do you have one in mind?
Yes, Major Domo. I don't have one in mind.
That can be determined. There is time, but there will need to be one instated within the month of your departure. Is that an acceptable term?
More than acceptable.
Good.
And if we could get one possibly as soon as we're able, I would like to start upkeeping the place the best I can, as quickly as I can.
Very
Hmm.
well. Let us talk on that engagement then. The upkeeping of the estate. The arboretum and the orchards, they will need tending. Certain trees may need to be uprooted, and that will require a certain special touch. I could put you in correspondence with specialists in regard to such a thing.
That would be good. Hmm.
He nods. As for the manor itself, you've read the lines here. None of the furnishings, except those which are in desperate need of repair, are to be removed from the proper.
Yes. Very strange notation. One I
Yes.
will respect, obviously.
And of the furnishings and the necessary effects for the upkeep of the estate, none shall be sold. This, of course, does not include personal effects or items of curious use or trinkets or baubles, things more so
The decor.
utilitarian items must be maintained and held within the manor. But if you were to find a piece of woman's jewelry or even a vast treasure of wealth beneath the estate, buried in some cellar, that would be fair game, you understand.
Clearly.
Good, good, I'm pleased. There, ah, a question?
No, just thinking.
Uh,
Hmm.
Disseminate those thoughts to the air, if you will. I would be cherished to accompany them, if the lady would so choose.
You say the groundskeeper is Balin Fair,
Ex-groundskeeper.
ex-groundskeeper.
He finds it harder to get around of late.
Is there a groundskeeper there attending him then?
No,
Or
there
no?
has not been for almost 16 years, I think. You will find the manor in a bit of unfortunate disrepair.
Hmm.
Though there is a certain vitality to that place. I have not been in it for quite a while. In fact, my last venture there was for a matter of state, you understand. It seemed to me that much of it still seemed vibrant, though a bit dusty. There had been no rot that had set into the beams, and, well, much of the furnishings were still in good condition, which to me seemed a bit bizarre, as the place had not been properly tended for almost 60 years.
Curious.
That is a word that one could use in, well, great numeration in regards to the descriptions of this place and
Yes.
its furnishings and wares.
I knew the previous owner personally. Hmm. What a
Ah,
peculiar individual he was, through and
yeah.
through.
I know that he went on to become a high wisdom, but outside of that dealings, I have not looked much into the individual in question. Um, I heard he kept odd company. I thought him a bit distasteful myself, though I don't remember him well. That was when I was much younger.
He has since passed on.
I am sorry to hear so.
Anyways, I'll look down towards the paper.
Now,
Hmm.
I am assured that this has been gone over by the tenets of law and individuals who are more versed in the dissemination of such lines. Um, Still, I would like to bring it to my own personal master of law, to have him take a look over the papers in question, just a final little, mm, a careful scrubbing of the document. I would not want you to be taking on anything you do not quite understand, you see. These old papers can be so convoluted at times.
Yes, the legal verbiage is confusing at best.
Well, my master of law is doing so. Would you mind joining me for a luncheon?
Of course. That sounds great.
Delightful.
Hmm.
Truly, I mean it. He looks over your shoulder, his eyes darkening a little bit. Huh.
Kind of look out of the corner of my eye, see where he's looking.
You look over your shoulder for a second. You see 3 men on horses riding across one of the hills. Not quickly, but making their way along a tall road top leading over that vantage point. The man sniffs as he watches the 3 go, and then turns back to you. Mm. Excuse the misadventures of your local youth. They can be miswarranted at times, and sometimes even overdaring in their pursuits of exploration.
It's good that they do so, though. Find the wonder in the world while they're still so young.
Yes. Still, I will cut the hooves from any horse that sets foot into my Appalachia. It muddies and tears the ground, you see. It can ruin a harvest. Uh, Not to mention the particulars required for the fertilization of that soil. Horse dung is a bit too strong, you see, for it. Nonetheless, he stands. A bit of lunch.
Mm.
I have the finest and most delicate, well, he says, brace of capers you have ever had the joy of tasting, and fresh fowl from the yard. Have you had roasted fowl before, stuffed with herb, and a delicate sauce of, well...
Going to imagine the answer to that is no.
No. A caper is a fish, by the way.
I'm unfamiliar with either of those upon my palate.
Ah, it
Mm.
will be a delight. I'm glad.
I'll stand then from the table, smiling at him warmly.
Step with him. He leads you slowly towards something of a small private dining hall. How many private rooms can there be off the course of this causeway? Seems many. Many doors leading in, many leading out. Twisting hallways to the depths of that strange stone building.
You know, when I was on the ride up to this place, the size of it, I just wondered, how does such a small family take up all this space, make good use of it?
It is far too small of a family, especially in the more recent days. I rent out much of the east wing to my orderlies who work so diligently. I find it best to have my farmman, my servant, my master of Appalachia, be well fed and well groomed. Perhaps someday my sons will marry and there will be children running in these halls. I would love to see those days, though. I grow old, I think, for that sort of thing.
Smile at him warmly, nodding. You
I,
say both your sons are unmarried?
yes, They have courted before a few times. Good prospects all, but the arrangements, unfortunately, for one or another reason on either side, have always become complex.
As is love, and
As is love. Still, by the good grace of the 11, they will find wives in time. Good women all, no doubt. Eager to push forward the family legacy. To whom do you owe your hyenas? He says, looking at you, smiling. Or do you follow in the Irish fashion?
oh no, not Irish, not one bit, not a drop in my blood.
Good. A fellow Venorian, then.
Yes.
I have a chapel devoted to Althera, and, well, a Mavrala outside of it. Though I know such primaric attendings are strange, we still follow the old ways here.
Interesting.
If you ever are seeking a time of solace, serenity, to sing your hyenas of faith, feel free to use that establishment. I know the Amber Manor is lacking such a requirement. I will hope you will see it fitted with such when you come into your own.
I will kindly keep that in mind, and if I can make the arrangements, yes.
There is
Hmm.
little love in a godless house. We should do our best to amend these things.
I can see the wisdom there. It is always good to believe in something, someone. Hmm.
Yes.
I found myself often going to the shrine of Eolinra by the sea, the blue flame, while I was in Elavatti.
She who walks in silence.
Yes.
Then you pray to the Grey Lady, the Protector, the Silent Maiden. That's a good
Hmm.
choice, I think. A wise and pertinent choice, even.
I think so as well.
You step into the magnanimous dining chamber. There, you sit down on a cushioned couch beside a homely table set with dishes unfilled at the moment, silverware gently scattered about the wood. Yarlow looks down at it all. I knew of your arrival. I heard of it from my dear friend, Coriosoronti. He
Hmm.
smiles softly. I have good business dealings with the Soronti, and I know you as well have worked to keep his wine cellars stocked and flourishing.
That I
In
have.
this, we are allies.
Hmm. Both my name and myself personally have endeavored to do so, and I've
Good.
dined at his table on occasion.
I am glad to hear it. I have not had the divine pleasure in quite a while. I hope Nasa and Lucini are still well.
Last I saw them, I think it was 10 days before my leaving. They were all in good health. Hmm.
Excellent.
Though,
Excellent.
with the recent ongoings and, well, Elavatti, I'm sure you've heard of those as well. The
Yes.
tragedy.
The tragedy. I,
Many families have lost
my
their loved
heart
ones.
goes out. I have prayed many an Aegina for the poor folk of Eolinra's pavilion. Please tell me the efforts go well.
The city is healing the best it can. It was so quiet, so deathly quiet after it all happened, but now there's at least a small semblance of life coming back to the place. Hmm.
Good. It
I
warms the
spent every
heart.
single day I could afterwards in the Grey Hall, trying my best to help.
Ah, I see. You are a boon, I dare say. Prithee, you did not find the work too distasteful. I know often the Madazios find themselves refuting the assistance of those of feminine guise. I hope you were not accosted similarly.
Not at all. Hmm. I went
Good.
with my mother as well. She often attends
Ah,
helping there. Hmm.
your mother. Ah, yes. I heard she came with you. Not in attendance, however. I feel irrefutably saddened by not getting to meet her charming self.
She wanted to enjoy the morning on her lonesome, but expressed that she'd love to come by another time.
Ah,
I left her devices as
well,
not to
i-
disturb her. Yeah.
if I could extend, perhaps, the vine, he says, smiling. I think a second opportunity, then, if you would. I know that the Ordans are holding the ceremony. Well, he says, grinning. Ah, our dear ceremony. He ponders for a second, almost lost in thought.
Ceremony?
Yes, the renewal of blood comes upon us.
Hmm.
I would offer the vine to you if you would take it, if you would be so gracious as to attend. Your mother as well could be in attendance. A delightful occasion, one steeped in traditions, and long outdate myself.
I think it would be remiss of me to not attend. I am part of this valley now, so
He smiles. Delightful. I am pleased that you have accepted. I will let or would you prefer to let Ordon? Actually, I'm sure Ordon will offer as well. Perhaps let him have his moment of pride when you accept. It will carry good weight with the man's heart, I think.
it's the little things that count.
Yes,
Smile and nod.
but you and I shall know that it was my invitation you accepted, not Bennett's. Food has arrived, it seems. A copperhead, stripped of hide and fur, of course, with the most tender cheek meat, and along with it as well, well, some of the finest little fish you've ever eaten. Subtle, tasty, not too heavily spiced in the fashion of the city, far more delicate on the palate.
Hmm. I will say the food in Elavatti sometimes turns the stomach.
It
So
is.
good. This much lighter and much more hearty.
I
Hmm.
find the food in a Olivar often is far too greasy. It overpowers the taste of wine, and if you cannot taste the wine, why sit at the table?
Good way of putting it. I see that all of you here, put great thought into everything when it comes to that. Yes.
On that note, he says, and pours for you a delicate red wine, a bit of the newer harvest of the Ordon. These have not yet been aged. He smiles. You'll find them far sweeter. Not yet wine as much as a subtle draught.
Hmm. I'll look down at it curiously and I'll reach over, tasting it.
It is a thick juice of grape. A bit delightful. A bit of syrup used to thicken it, to give it a bit of body. Not alcoholic in the least. Just a subtle, sweet drink.
Hmm.
Salon
I'll
picks
raise
up.
it in an impressed
What?
look. I'll
You,
raise the glass a little bit in an impressed look, and then,
you enjoy it.
yes,
Good.
it's like biting into a ripe fruit. It's good.
It
Hmm.
is, it is. I drink it little, however. It tends to give one a certain spunk to their step. A bit too much flair, I think. Uh, I find if I drink it too close to bed, I spend half the night ruminating on thoughts of the most strange variety, not able to find myself in the way of dreaming. Still, in the morning, it gives a bit of pep, I think. And it pairs well with the savory meats. Salon picks up a caper, swallowing it whole, the small fish delicately sliding into her throat. Yarla looks at her, then back to you.
I'll sit there and continue to eat.
Now then, what if I... Would you like to see the Appalachian? We are past the harvest, but you may find interest in the doings and the dealings here. Give you a bit of a feel for how things operate within the Ilne Yanagalne.
Hmm. I'll finish swallowing the bite of food I have. Yes. I do want to learn the ins and outs of this place.
Very well. Also, on the matter of the Ambral estate, I shall send one of my finest carpenters to your service on the following week. The renewal of blood draws far too soon. I would be remiss to have him away from his own preparations before that time. So it'll have to wait till after. But he will be at your disposal for any subtle needs you might have in the upkeep of the manor itself.
I plan to bring it back up to snuff. I won't have it be a
Good.
stain on this valley any longer, in disrepair sitting there. Hmm.
What do you know of it, might I ask, as we walk?
Oh, I'll stand. Well, I've heard all of the rumors and the stories, ghosts and such. I've had the
Nonsense.
Yes, I've had the pleasure of speaking with Eslin Fair about the history of the place.
Ah, you have spoken with the sister.
Yes.
So unlike Amlin, but still, I heard she was a fearsome vown, and has seen more war than most men.
Oh, and it shows on her person.
Yes,
Hmm.
with an eye and an arm given in service. Truly remarkable. A truly divine woman, graced with the glory of Eovran himself.
She is something special indeed.
Amlin, in subtle regard, was the opposite of her older sister. Delicate, frail, beautiful, never looking for the joy in such masculine pursuits. She had a love of song and of birds. The Ambral Manor itself, well, I hear it's less than subtle in its decoration, and if I remember, it was hard to get away from the things. Birds everywhere, carved into stone, into wood. And such marvelous birds they were as well, fluttering, flying all over the place. the guises of wood, and the blossoms. Such work. Even I would have, well, if I had a carpenter half as good. Still,
Yes. I also am under the impression that the wood of that place is
oh,
Nithi corpse wood.
y- yes,
Hmm.
there is that, he says a bit darker. A uncomfortable reminder, but still, yes, it is.
I imagine no such problems will arise because of that.
No, the
Hmm.
Niffy do not leave their step, their number too small. I doubt you will have any issue with that less than savory people causing you issues. They even
Good.
tried to step into the valley. We would have them wiped off the face of this place. Ealdindra herself would be seemed light in her touch.
I'll give him a dark grin. Hmm.
I promise you, in that regard, you have our full and undivided support.
I'll nod to him pleasurably.
But, yes, the
Hmm.
house is made from Girathi, which means it has a certain vitality to it. That wood is far lasting longing and far brighter, well, darker than any of our northern breeds.
Interesting. And whatever happened to Emlyn Fair? I wonder.
Killed herself.
Hmm.
Shame that.
I heard what happened to her children as well.
Yes, stillborn one and all, he says as you walk the gardens leading to the Appalachia. A
And
steady
that
rise up and onto the hill.
Gomer Vicenti built that house to her as something of a gift of love, but it ended up being a tomb. Hmm.
Yes, a tomb. That is a way of putting it that I had not thought of before. But it's apt. You will have to make it something else. Take the tomb, craft it into something new and fresh,
Hmm.
beautiful. As
I
it
plan to.
stands now, it is a blot on this valley. Make it into something worthwhile. And if you can't, if you find it too difficult, if the struggle is too taxing on your coffers or on your soul, I am sure there are those among the Galne Nagalder who would be more than happy to purchase it.
I can assure you I am both resolved in spirit and coin, and I will commit myself to the restoration of this place. Hmm.
Galne Nagalder. Those words are not ones you've heard before, but their meaning you understand. Blood of the heart.
Blood of the heart.
Yes. I and my fellow Galdemeni have a council in this valley to keep things in check and to ensure the quality of what is being produced here. You
Hmm.
will find Bennett Ordon among its ranks, myself, and Asher Lovat. He smiles. I hope you will have the pleasure of meeting all of us in time.
I would like to. And I imagine I will. Hmm.
After your first production season, if you manage to get the manor up to that point, we may even extend an invitation to our council. But let's not get hasty.
Take things as they come. Hmm.
Absolutely. The
But
best
now,
way of things.
there's such a long journey ahead trying to get that place up to the expectation. Hmm.
Yes,
I could use
absolutely.
all the help that I can get in that endeavor.
You will have the Galaria Havara at your service. I hear that you are taking my Valn from me. He grins,
Hmm.
almost a boyish grin for a man so old.
I'll smile back at him somewhat playfully. I have come here to steal Ton Kalor from you, just for these 2 months.
Yes, I gave him leave to do so, in fact, without my permission. He waggles his eyebrows. He would have been locked down to my Havara until his service was ended. He is an excellent man, and his son is, though on occasion, a bit of a dolt. A delight.
What young man isn't? I'll
What
give him one.
young man isn't?
Hmm.
You're right. You must have the wisdom of years on your shoulders. Or just a bit of a pessimistic sense of the world. Either will serve you well.
I
Now,
imagine you've heard why I've come to this valley, besides the manor,
yes,
though.
the Phaetona of Aliana has called you to it, and I must say you have my full and complete support in that endeavor. Truly, a divine choice.
Smile. I'm very much looking forward to it.
All we do in the name of the 11.
And I relish the chance to act in the guise of Alayana for even but a day in such a competition.
I am
Hmm.
sure you shall be magnanimously received, and given the charm of this interaction, a delight for all who gaze upon you.
I'll blush faintly, continuing to walk at his side.
He leads you through that place for a while. You meet with the foreman and a few of the tenders of the grapes, him going into much and painstaking detail over the according and the keeping of such crop, to the point where it almost drones on to a point that is absurd. The level of thought into these things is numbing, though understandable given the reputation of the Galdemani in question.
Try my best to put my mind to it, but I imagine at the end of things I'll feel somewhat mentally exhausted, my eyes glazing over some.
It takes you far into the midday, almost to the evening, when the two of you find yourselves again within the dining chambers. Ceylon is followed silently all the way, and often it is that the Galdemani looks at her and then looks away quickly, and then eventually, once you've sat back down within the dining chamber, he addresses the obvious subject. This, your name was, he says, looking at her. He then
Ah,
looks to you.
her name is Salon, and she's mute.
What
Hmm.
a charming servant. I must ask where one finds such a delightfully strange woman to accompany themselves.
Hmm.
Is she your is she your agaro?
He said Agaro.
Agaro.
Um, which is
A wife of love
wife of love.
versus Vasheza.
I'll shake my head. No, something along more of the lines of a Vashesa.
Ah, interesting. She must be
And
studious to serve such a high-ranking heiress.
I cherish her mind. I'll look at her, smiling, and then turn back to the man. And a person like that you do not find. You happen upon them by luck. One in a million.
Luck. That one most godless element that we all must suffer. Still, we bend and bow to it, and will do so till the ending of days. Two young men are making their way into the dining hall now, taking off riding gloves and placing their crops down onto a cushioned couch near to where the three of you sit.
I'll sit there somewhat tall, relaxing back in my chair, making myself at home some, but taking them in with my eyes, scrutinizing them some.
Both of them are well muscled, the fashion of young men who do not laze about. Their hair is wild from the ride of the horses, and their clothing noble and dressed the sigil of the house of Galaria upon their gunlari. The older one, gray-eyed, brown-haired, takes a look at you at Slod, and then grins, walking over. He plops down near to his father.
I'll look and turn to the older gentlemen before they arrive. Your sons?
Yes, he says, smiling. Farron the older, and Cantilio the younger. Farron's hair is a wild halo, a subtle brown. He sits down, looking to you. Ah, you are the Toscan heiress. He bows. Varadoskia?
I politely nod my head to him as I sit. Hmm. The one and only.
Cantilio sits down next to his brother, grinning at you. Aye, we've waited a while. You've arrived at last. Thought it would be a few more days, but still, welcome to the Mjana Il Nagalne.
Give him a faint smile. Thank you.
The older brother seems far more reserved. He sits about eating, not speaking much to his father. The younger, Cantilio, is chatty, a bit snippy, and precise. As you go about, the mid-evening sort of snack, Cantilio turns to you. Father tells me that you purchased the Amber Manor. Looking to renovate the old spook house, no doubt?
Restore it to be mm, up to the expectations of this grand place. Yes.
He grins. When I was younger, my brother would dare me to try and run up and touch the door. I remember pissing myself the first time. It is a dominating estate. Have you seen it before? Or is this your
I
first
have
time?
my first time.
Ah, well, I think you will find it. Well, I don't know how you'll find it. I don't know how I would put it into words.
It's one of those things that you just have to see. You have to feel what it's like. Mm.
Cantilio nods, laughing. Ah, like the touch of a woman. Unknown until at last it is plied. Still, there is
I'll,
anticipation in the moment.
I'll roll my eyes and look down at my food, continuing to eat some.
Salon gives Cantilio a grim little smile. The boy looks at her, and then looks away a bit sheepishly, standing and putting back on his riding gloves. I am going to take Calerno, and make my way back over the Waste Hills one more time. He grins, picking up his riding crop. You watch him go. Farron watches him as well and then turns to you. He is young. Don't judge him for his words. He finds it hard to stop speaking, to think.
Oh, hmm. It reminds me of my brother some.
Ah, you have a brother. I'm sorry.
I'll smile. Younger. I know what it's like. Hmm.
Good. Solidarity among older siblings, then, he says, lifting a glass. Father, I'm going to make sure that well, your good and young son does not break his neck taking the wrong path. Good day to you, Lady Varadoskia.
Been a pleasure. I'll raise a glass to him like he did me and take a sip of it as he leaves.
He steps away, quickly chasing after his brother. Yarlo watches them go, then turns to you. They are both eager to participate in the last events of the day, squeezing every bit of time out of it that they can manage, till there's
Hmm.
nothing left. It is the way of youth.
It is, yes.
You yourself are quite young. I
Hmm.
have known women twice your age, still, that have not purchased estate or land.
I've had a hard life. I'm looking for something a little slower. Hmm.
I have no doubt. His master of law comes, not shortly after, with papers, setting them down and whispering into the man's ear. Yarlo turns to you, smiling. It seems that all is in order.
Good.
Every line precise. Now then, would you have any questions for me, Lady Tosca?
None that stick out in my mind at the moment. Hmm.
Very well. If any come to you, make sure not to hesitate.
And, well, I guess there is one.
Ah,
What have we left to do before I can rightfully walk into my estate?
signatures, he says, smiling and pushing the ink pot and the quill towards you.
I'll take it and sort of skim over the pages all one last time. And then I'll sign in all of the appropriate places. Something of a faint smile on my lips.
You finish the last signature of a flourish, and he looks to you. Very well. The Amber Manor is yours. Make sure to keep it well and oversee its provisions and its furnishings. If you need assistance, feel free to call on me. I have plenty of master craftsmen in my employ, and at the touch of a letter, soon at my door.
Heaven be willing. Hmm. We can make such a place shine again.
I have no doubt you will be a delightfully apt heiress. I must warn you, though. He smiles softly. Not all in this valley may see you as much of an ally as I do.
Yes, a worry that I had of any woman coming into such a place. Hmm.
In particular, I would avoid the Elavatti, Havare. You may find them distasteful to your proclivities and to your person.
I see.
I respect Escher, but, well, you get to know him and you'll understand.
I see. I'll heed your warning.
Good. Good.
Though I have a way of going against those sometimes. I can be rather daring.
Whatever you decide, it will be right for you.
Yes.
He stands. This has been a most constructive conversation and meeting. I am blessed to have it.
Likewise. I've enjoyed this day, though it be long. Very pleasurable. One thing I can say for certain is that the people of Elavatti know their hospitality well and how to give it.
Make sure that you yourself are found in that same way, Lady Tosca.
I'll stand then, collecting the papers off the table, the writs, and handing them back to Salon. I'll walk over to the man then, coming over to his side. It has been a good pleasure.
I am pleased. I am sure that your coachman is eagerly waiting a warm meal tonight.
That he is.
And your mother must be beside herself with worry. Best to alleviate both those things. He offers
Narrow
you a
my eyes.
hand. Go
Narrow
ahead.
my eyes and nod. And then I'll take his hand.
Best of luck to you, Lady Tosca. Says
Best of
nodding
health to you.
towards the door.
I'll gently let go of his hand and then slowly walk out, eyeing Salon as I do so.
Salon walks with you. The two of you making your way out and back onto the raised terrace, towards the steps leading down towards the gateway. She signs.
I do terribly love that, my awkward goodbyes.
Yes, you seem very apt at them.
I do them on purpose, they amuse me.
Yes, I have noticed. Let things linger.
Well then. Back to the What was it?
Tembren.
Tembren. Something along those lines, yes.
Good. Seems the coachman is prepared. Good. Apt. Not lazy.
No.
I like this man.
Do well to keep him in our favor. Gun show.
I would ride him if I felt I would feel anything from it.
Oh, hush.
Looks at you at the corner of his eye, out of your corner of her eye. What? You know I can't go back to things of smaller quality.
Just give her a big shitting grin and continue to walk out.
Goncho is there. He lowers down the ramp as he sees you smiling. Lady Tosca, welcome, welcome.
Yes.
Tembren House.
Sorry to keep you waiting all day. We had a lot of paperwork and business to go over.
I understand. When I bought my first abode, I had plenty myself.
I imagine my mother's beside herself. Let's just get there quickly.
No doubt.
Mm.
And then, the Emperor State. I am excited. I have not seen it in a long, long time. He helps you up and into the carriage, closing the door gently behind the two of you. It merrily goes down and along its way in the pleasant autumn evening, back towards the Tembrone house. You arrive, not too late after, Salon signing as you go. What did you make of the man?
Godly, kindly, hospitable. Hmm.
Any ulterior motive? What think you?
None that I can sniff yet. He seemed to just want to go about business.
If there is one, he is far more clever than any Elavarian merchant.
Yes. And I would think it ridiculous to believe that everybody has some kind of ill ulterior motive. In his case, I think his ulterior motive is just
Peace.
peace, yes, and seeing that the person buying land in his fine valley is somebody who can well upkeep it. And I think I committed myself and impressed him in that manner. Though I think
Yes,
actions will speak louder than any words.
I have no doubt. You pull up next to the Temburn house then, Salon opening the door. Aelin is already standing outside, tapping her foot, Reyna beside her. She looks up at you with a worried frown.
I'm so fucking sorry. I'll step down,
I
coming up to her.
thought you would be back. At least uh, by lunch.
Hmm,
They had the most.
paperwork, legality, long conversations of how orchards and vineyards are upkept, all of that.
They had the
Lunch,
most
dinner, breakfast, snacks.
delightful roasted goose, and you missed it. I tried
Oh,
to keep some for you, but well,
you missed the capers and the stuffed pheasant.
oh, well, don't tell me that. I'll start feeling sorry for myself. Are we are we on our way? The
Waiting on
manor?
you. Yes.
She nods. Well, I'm sorry you had to wait. She moves
Oh.
towards the carriage. Go ahead.
Don't apologize for such things. You've been waiting for me all day long.
Still, she steps up and Rena after. Rena bows. All necessary provisions have been moved to the manor, at least outside of it. We will have to move the rest inside. The larder stock as well has been placed, I have heard, in an exterior building outside the main gate. The staff
Hmm.
did not want to bring it inside.
Sensible.
More
Thank you,
work.
as always, Rena.
Of course, misters. I just want to get there. I am nervous.
I've got the jitters too, but come.
She smiles.
No more putting it off now.
The four of you enter into the carriage. Gancho closes the door. He hops up, taking the reins. Yeah, yeah. The carriage starts down the way. It's a pleasant night. The wind has died down, and the sounds of, well, night is not correct. Mid-afternoon, more like. The sounds of everything around you is spacious. The natural ambience taking hold, almost enchanting in its delightful simplicities.
Oh, how I miss this.
The carriage gently rocks beneath you. Aelin turns. How was Yerlo Galaria? Not too pompous, I hope?
Oh, I think you would have loved his company. He's a very kindly, calm, somewhat simple old man, even.
Oh,
Very delightful company. A godly man, too.
oh,
Hmm.
good. I will have to treat with him sometime.
He has invited us to the. What is it called?
Renewal of blood.
Yes. That. The renewal of blood. Well, he hasn't
That
officially invited us. He's expecting um Bennett Orlon to invite us. Hmm.
renewal of blood. That sounds rather grim.
It's just a ceremony. Blood and wine interchangeable in this language, so you know.
Yes.
Hmm.
I've always hated that about Alarish. It comes from the old Miri root, you know. Galden. Galden is the Miri word for blood. Gadarch, heart. Hmm. Gal means brave. But Galarch means sharp. Strange. Not all these words pair well, or have similar meaning. It can get confusing. Ilarish is far much more simple. I enjoy that, but still, it can be a bit overly romantic.
Or look at the people speaking it.
You have a point. I don't mean offense, Rena, she says, turning quickly to the young Ilarish woman, shakes her head. No offense is taken, Mistress Aylin. Aylin looks a bit pale at that. You do not need to refer to me in such ways. Rena turns to you and then looks down at the floor in which she sits, not speaking. Aelin regroups and smiles. Still, oh, it's been a lovely day. Absolutely lovely. Hopefully, there aren't bugs in the mattresses in the manor. Oh, I will hate having to beat those things out.
There has been an older man living there, the ex-groundskeeper, Valen Fair, as I've been told.
Valen Fair, Valen Fair.
Yeah.
Is Fair not the name of the young woman who lived there prior?
Amlin
Relation?
Fair, yes. Relative of Vaun Eslin Fair. I imagine you've heard her name from Orlin.
Yes.
Hmm.
Good woman, I've heard.
I've
But
had the
Orlin
pleasure of
rarely
treating
does
with her.
bad.
Hmm.
Huh. Phelan Fair. I reckon we should, well, if he's been upkeeping the place.
The best he can, so I've been told.
Yes,
He's an older man.
I'll cook him
Only
some
one.
lunch sometime, I think.
I'm sure he would appreciate that.
Yes.
Probably the company, too, after being alone in this house for so long.
Wait, was he living in the place? I thought it was uninhabited.
I believe he was. Wasn't that what the master of the land said? I'll look at Salon.
Salon signs. No. He
No?
lives outside of the main grounds, outside the gate. Apparently because he's too mad to upkeep the grounds anymore.
I see.
Wait. Erlen turns to look at you then, eyes narrowing, hands shaking a bit. Fairs. Manners.
Putting it together.
Oh, she says in that familiar way. Oh, oh, oh. You bought the Ambrel estate. Oh,
I'll
that's
just
where
sit
we're
there
going.
staring across at her with a toothy grin.
Uh, um, Vara, how much did that cost you?
I'll shrug like it's nothing, casually.
Oh, Vara.
About double what your debts were.
Fuck. She looks down, hands shaking, trying to steady herself.
Hey, hey, look at me.
She
Hmm?
looks up at you quick, her left hand gently reaching beneath her dress in the pocket there.
You need not a thing to worry about. Hmm?
She seems to steady a bit more and nods slowly.
That is but a drop in a
Oh,
pond. I'm not lying when I say I have so much money I don't know what the fuck to do with it. Hmm?
okay, okay. So
How
we're
much?
going to live for 2 months in one of, as I've heard it, most expensive and spacious manors ever built in the
Yes.
history of the valley.
Hmm.
And you own it.
And I own it. And the land it's on, not just the manor itself. Hmm.
Farah, that's almost 20 acres.
Yes. With an apple and a plum orchard on it. There's also an arboretum with apparently 3 oracles of different species of trees, as I've been told.
An arboretum.
Yes.
You don't say.
All of that will be in grand disrepair, but it can be
Yes.
restored.
Yes.
Hmm.
Oh. Oh, I feel like I'm in a storybook. Fuck.
Welcome to my life. Hmm.
Gansho leans down. We're coming around the bend. We'll see it soon. Prepare yourselves. That was ominous, says Erlen, sitting up and looking out towards the eastern window. Rena turns too as well to look. A gentle lantern lighting outside the carriage, hanging from a hook. One inside as well.
I'll just sort of sit back and not really gaze at it until we're closer. Close my eyes.
You get a vision of it for a second. And then you close your eyes. Just a moment of dark, sort of ball of wood coming up and across some old trees. Aelin has a hiss of breath, intaking. You hear it. Your eyes closed, in the darkness listening to the sounds. Silon gently puts a hand on your knee. Reyna gives a small gasp as well.
I'll have a grin on my lips as I sit there with my eyes closed. And I'll just keep it that way until the sound of the horse hooves stop.
Then the carriage halts. Oh, love, we've arrived.
I'll open my eyes then, turn, and look out.
You open your eyes, looking at the first sight. Past dark metal bars you peer, finding purchase of what lays beyond them. It lays past a row of unkempt statues, marvelous birds, glimmering under Yuna's last dance. Standing stark at the end of an antiquated cobbling of stones. There a door rises up against the wood, like some ancient protector formed of wooden beams and upright hinges. 2 glaring balustrades casting their shadowy gloom like stone awnings upon the yard to either side of it, darkness stretching far across that yard. The pillars of the house are made of stone, carved beautiful in the likeness of birds and blossoms, so exquisitely wrought at the hands of the mason worked that some even seem to spring to life upon their stony bedding. You turn to see the arboretum then. Brilliant, dark, expanding out across the yard. A myriad of various tree life vesting itself with no clear path or intention, often encroached upon by the arriving road to the manor. Boughs hung solemnly, leaves shed in the autumn's stark air, cones littering the ground along the causeway, blossoms now long gone in the cold. Aelin stares at it, stares at you. I thought it'd be smaller. 2 stories, a high tower. Not as large as the Havares you've seen before, but the manor itself must contain at least many, many rooms. Vast, spacious, dark. You stare at it, taking it in.
Hmm.
It stares back at you, with windows like eyes peering down across the causeway. Gansho opens the door. We have arrived. Aelin turns to you. Well, shall we?
I think we shall. Hmm.
Good.
I'll stand and reach out to take her hand, help her down.
You help her down. Gansho opens the gate. Salon behind you. Rana as well.
Hmm.
Step along the cobbles, making your way over their flat-hewn surface, staring at the faces of carven birds, many with rosen shafts clutched between their closed beaks. It seems the craftsman had a love of things which grow and fly.
This house was a monument made for Amlin Fair. She was a woman who loved music and loved birds, so I've been told.
Yes.
Hmm. And the man who made it for her has a distasteful penchant for theming every little thing. Hmm.
She nods. You make your way up the stairs, and in the faint light of the evening you stop, staring at the glaring, large metal keyhole which peers at you with soulful eyes. A woman's face, her mouth open, the keyhole itself between her full lips. Ceylon looks to you, gritting darkly, and signs.
Oh,
All you thought it would be?
well, we don't quite know what it is yet, do we?
She reaches into a pocket, and then pulls out a dark, steely key. She
I'll
holds it
extend a
up.
hand.
Gently, she reaches forward, placing it there as Aelin swallows deep, taking in. Reyna behind you is shaking. The place is unnerving, dark.
Hmm. The two of you be on your toes. There might be ghosts about. I'll say with a big grin on my lips as I stick the key in the lock and turn it.
Don't joke about that. Not right now when it's dark. Gently, you
Scared?
slide the key into the hole. Aelin shakes her head. No, just open it. Please.
I'll turn it until there's a nice click.
You reach down, grasping the dark brass knob, the likeness of a rosebud. The key turns its last, and then from the door a sad sound, hinges crying their dismay. moaning against your intrusion. And that will be all for now.